everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Giftegwuenu. I'm a developer and also a content creator. In this channel you'll find videos relating to tech, career, and sometimes vlogs on things that I do as a developer. Anyway, in today's video I want to talk about the process that I used for relocating from Lagos, Nigeria all the way to the Netherlands. So I'll walk through the process of how I found the job, to how I applied for visa, and down to traveling down here. So the entire process, the entire journey, I'm sharing it with you. So in case you're interested in moving to the Netherlands for work, then this video is going to be really helpful. So stick around, and before you go on, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If I know that this content is going to be helpful for you, especially if you're trying to relocate, so please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. So let's start from the beginning. The first step is, how did I actually find my job? So to be very honest with you, I wasn't really looking for a job, a relocation job, because coming from my previous job, I was working remotely from Lagos, so I was pretty comfortable with also finding a remote job. But something came up to me and I was like, I can actually do both. I can actually look for remote and also look for relocation as well. So imagine if I had not decided, then I would just be focused on remote jobs. But then I was really open to both options. So then I started the search. I started searching for a new job at the end of, I would say between May and June. I was looking for a job. So what I did was, and I know this is going to be very helpful to people looking. So what I did was, I used two websites. To be specific, I used Stack Overflow jobs and I used LinkedIn jobs. So these two platforms were really great in terms of always giving me results that I wanted. So what I do is I set alerts. So I set alert for Stack Overflow and I set an alert for LinkedIn jobs. For Stack Overflow, I chose front-end developer, I chose the stack that I was looking for, and I chose what else did I choose now? And I chose I think I chose the salary range and the benefits as well. So every morning I get a mail listing available jobs that have been posted, so I can just check them out and apply. But before even going about this job application, the first thing that I would advise for you to do as a developer looking for a job is to dust up your CV. So like, make sure everything on your CV is up to date, and make sure that your CV is really presentable, because those jobs that you're trying to apply for, a lot of people are also going to apply for that job. So you need to stand out. So how do you stand out? By presenting So how do you stand that? By presenting a very up-to-date and impressive CV. So I used canva.com for my CV, and I would link it somewhere in the description so you can check it out. And after having your CV, it's also optional but recommended to also have a cover letter. A cover letter could be it could be asked for, right, by the job or by the company you're applying for. It could also not be asked for. So really it depends on the kind of job or the kind of company that you're applying to. But it's very, very important that you note that having a cover letter would really help you stand out, because here in the cover letter you have the opportunity to actually pitch yourself to the company on why they should hire you. So I really think it's important, but a lot of people don't bother to do this. So this is just me pointing it out to you to take note of. After having a great cover letter and a CV or a resume, then we can now go into the actual step of looking for the job. So like I mentioned, I use Stack Overflow jobs and LinkedIn jobs as well. Every day I used to check. I also have a Notion board that I used to track my applications, and I'll show you what that looks like now. I use these boards to track my application, so I know where and in what stage I am in that current application. If I was rejected, if I was if I was accepted or if I was given an assessment to take. So this really helps me keep track of the jobs that I'm applying for, because in a day I could apply to like 10 to 20 jobs really. So this is really helpful. At the end of the day, the job that I found was not from either of these platforms, it was from my connection. So thankfully Twitter has really changed my life, if I'm being honest. But Twitter really helped me find this current job that I'm in, because I went on Twitter and I shared that I was currently looking for a job, and a lot of people really pointed me to some helpful listings, and also my company reached out to me from there. So that was how I found this job. But either ways, I initially got in, I think 4 or 3 interviews from LinkedIn and 1 from Stack Overflow, and I was in the process of doing, I was in the last stage of doing one of those interviews as well. So those are really helpful sites that you can check out if you're looking for a job. And the great thing about LinkedIn jobs is, I should mention, is that you can pick a specific location. So if you're thinking of coming to the Netherlands, you can only search for jobs in the Netherlands or Germany or anywhere you want to go to. So that's the process of how I found my job. So after getting the job, the next step was to start preparing for relocation over to this to the Netherlands. So the first thing to do, I'll be specifically explaining for the Netherlands because that's what I know. I don't think it's the same process if you want to go to Germany, but for the Netherlands, I was employed as a high-skilled worker. What this means is that I am earning above a specific range. I think it's about 3K. I am not sure. I would confirm, but I think it's about 3K. So as an high-skilled immigrant, you get to, your company can actually apply for the resident permit from here, from the Netherlands. So there are actually 2 ways to go about this. You can actually start the process on your own without looking for a job, like without having a job beforehand. But I think going through that process is more difficult, and I've not heard a lot of people doing that. The ones that I know of is that when you find a company that is willing to hire them, then the company applies for the visa from here, and then the company does apply for the visa from here, and then you continue the process from wherever you're located. In my case, I was located in Lagos, so I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a second. But anyway, the process that I went through was that my company had applied for me from here. So what I did was I sent over my passport and a couple of more details, and my employer applied. So my employer is already registered under the IND. IND is like the immigration association in the Netherlands. So my company is already registered, so it was already easy for them. But if your company is not registered, you will have to do that first before sending in an application for you. But the process typically is they send in the application first, and it takes about 2 weeks for the IND to reply. So when the IND replies, they'll either reply with a rejection or an acceptance. So I got an acceptance, meaning that I'm eligible to travel down here. And after that, the next process is to go to the embassy in your location. So I went to the embassy in Cotonou, and this is because the embassy in Nigeria, unfortunately, does not handle things like relocation. So you're either given the option to go to Ghana or to go to Cotonou. At the time, the airport was still closed, so the only option I had was to go to Cotonou. Man, that was a very stressful journey, but I did not have any option. So the thing I was supposed to go and collect is called the MVV. So this is not the residence permits that you get the resident permits when you finally relocate here, but this temporary visa is what you can use to travel here so that you can complete the process. So I went to the embassy in Cotonou. Before going there, I actually booked an appointment. I booked an appointment for that, and I traveled all the way to Cotonou by road. And mind you, it was not a straightforward journey because at the time the border was still closed. There was still COVID-19. There was still the COVID-19. That was, I think that was the weekend when I traveled. I traveled August. No, I traveled September, first week of September, and I think that was when the airport was supposed to get opened, but it did not. It was cancelled, I think. But anyway, I went by road, and it was a very stressful journey because there were a lot of like blockers on the way. If you've gone to Cotonou before, you understand what I'm saying. But anyway, I went to Cotonou. Unfortunately, the day that I booked my appointment, they told me that it was cancelled. I wasn't sure why, and it really made my day hectic, really, because I thought that by them cancelling, they should have called me to tell me, instead of having allowing me come all the way and then telling me my appointment is cancelled. So anyway, I reached out to a friend, and he mentioned that I should call them, or I should ask my employer to call them. So I did the second. I asked my employer to call them, and immediately they replied me and told me to come the next day for my appointment. And after that, it was pretty seamless after that, really, because when I went for the appointment, so they don't do this thing like the US where they interview you or anything. You just have to bring the recommended documents. So the recommended documents I brought alongside my international passport. So when you submit all of that, they take your international passport. I think it took about 5 days to get it back. So because I could not go all the way back to Lagos and come back, I had to book an Airbnb where I stayed for the period that I was waiting to collect back my passport. So when I got my passport, I got back this temporary visa. I'm going to show you the entire thing, but you get this in your passport. This is what you can use to travel down to the Netherlands. It's only valid for 3 months, meaning that if you don't travel within that period, it expires, and then you have to go through the process of applying again, which is not great. Anyway, after I got this on the 23rd of September. I got this on the 23rd of September, and the next process was to actually book my flights, because really that was the next process. So I told my employer that I have gotten this, so we had to plan on when I should come all the way. But before that, I wasn't aware that I would need my birth certificate for one of the things that would the final application process here. So, and I did not have that, so I had to rush and make that birth certificate. And not only that do I need the birth certificate, I also need to legalize that birth certificate. So this is a thing that a lot of people miss out on, because they don't really know, or specifically for me, I did not really know that I was supposed to do this. I've read the website over 20 million times, but I swear I did not see this. But on Friday, a week before I was supposed to travel, I was checking out the website, and then I saw it that your birth certificate is supposed to be legalized, and this is done by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja. So I had to look for a way. I had to cancel my I had not booked my flights, thankfully, so I had to move the date when I was supposed to travel. I was supposed to travel on the 10th of October, so I had to move it 2 weeks ahead, so that I can get my birth certificate and every other thing settled. So after doing this, my employer booked my flight, and I was scheduled to travel on the 21st of October. Now, with everything going on in Nigeria, if you're familiar or if you're in Nigeria, you would know what I'm talking about. With everything going on in Nigeria within this period that I was supposed to travel, it made a lot of things uncertain for me, because I felt like I was not going to be able to travel because of the NSAS protests and how everything escalated in less than a day. Because I was scheduled to travel on Wednesday. Everything was peaceful a week before, until Sunday, until 3 days before I was supposed to travel. Everything escalated quickly, and I just thank God that I made plans earlier. So I planned to stay like 1 or 3 kilometers away from the airport, just so that I can easily just go to the airport. Like, because I stay very far. My house is, if you're familiar with Lagos, you know where Ekpe is. That's where I stay. I don't stay at Ekpe actually. I stay before Ekpe. So, but it's a long trip. It's a long trip. It's like around 3 to 4 hours to the airport. So I told myself that it would be better if I lodged in an hotel very close to the airport. And thankfully so, I lodged on Tuesday, and that Tuesday was the day that everything just went everything was just crazy. Like, I really don't even know how to express what Tuesday in Lagos was, because to me it still feels so unreal. But anyway, I am so devastated with everything that has happened so far, and I hope that we are able to change how things are done in my country, in Nigeria specifically. And to everybody's life that was lost on that day, I just hope that they are in a better place right now, and I hope that something like this does not repeat itself in the future, and that we are able to change things from how they currently are. But anyway, thankfully for me, I was already staying like very close to the airport, so all I wanted, or all I needed to do was just leave very early in the morning to the airport. But again, if you know me, you know that I stress over the most little or the smallest things. So I was really bothered that they were going to close down the airport the next day, because mind you, there was also a curfew that same day. There was a 24 hours curfew, I think. So I was scared that they were going to cancel my flights, but thankfully I summoned courage and I went to the airport by 4 a.m 5 a.m actually, and I saw a lot of people already waiting there, so I had hope that they would not cancel the flight. So that was how I was able to travel down here, which I'll share clips of if you've already seen it then, of my trip down to Amsterdam. All right, then after the visa is secured and after I've traveled here, the next process, which should be stress-free, is to do two things. So the first thing is to register for a BSN. So a BSN number is like what we have in Nigeria, like the BVN number. So this number is what you use to register for a lot of things. You use to register for your bank account, you use to register for your driver's license, I think. So this is really important. I already have an appointment for Thursday, which I'll be going for. And then the other thing I need to do is also to collect my resident permit. Because I already got my temporary permits, the MVV I mentioned that I showed you earlier here, that already made them to start the process here to make my resident permits available. So, because it takes, like, after getting this, your resident permit will be ready in 2 weeks. So because I already stayed more than 2 weeks, I got a message that mine was already ready, so I just need to pick it up. So I also have an appointment for Saturday to do that. So, and I think pretty much that's the process really. Your employer does the first thing, applies from here. After you get an acceptance, you go to the embassy in your country. In my case, Nigeria does not do that in the embassy, so you either go to Ghana or you go to Benin Republic. After getting the temporary visa, you travel over here and then you collect your resident permits, you register for a BSN. So I want to talk about a couple of other things that I had to do during this process of relocation that I feel like is also going to be beneficial for other people to note. So there are a couple of things you'd like to do beforehand or even when you arrive, really. The first thing I would like to mention is the 30% ruling thing in the Netherlands. I think this is one of the coolest things that I've heard so far. So as a high-skilled worker, the government has a rule that says actually you get taxed, right? On a normal day you get taxed. I think their tax is about 38%. I'll correct that if I'm wrong, but the government returns out of your taxable income, the government will return 30% of that to you. So if peradventure you were earning say 25, you were earning 2,500 euros without 30% ruling on it, once you move over here and you apply for the 30% ruling and it gets applied to your salary can bump up to like 3k or 3.2. So that is something that I feel like it is very nice, and I'm so thankful that I chose Amsterdam instead of Germany, because I don't think Germany has this, and also Germany tax is way higher than the Netherlands. So that's something I would like people to note. It's called the 30% ruling. If you want to do more reading on that, you can, I'll leave a link below so you can just check it out and understand what it really is. Then another thing I like to mention is called OV chip card. So this is a card for transportation. So once you have this card, you can have a personalized one, or you can just buy a temporary one, or just buy, I think it's about 7 euros. So this card is what you use typically for transportation. You use it for bus, for trains. You can even use it to rent a bicycle. If you know about the Netherlands, you know that this is the capital of bicycles. So I even plan on renting. I already have one bicycle right now that my landlord gave to me, but I don't know how to ride a bike yet, so I am going to be looking into doing that next week, I think. And yeah, this card is very important because you use it for transports everywhere in the Netherlands. So yeah, it's going to be very handy if you have that immediately you come in. Finally, I want to mention how to actually find an apartment, because this is also something you might want to have settled before you move here, because that was what I did. Instead of like staying in an hotel before you actually, or it depends on your employer can actually just find something for you in the meantime before you find your feet and find an apartment. But yeah, mine, I had to look for an apartment before, and 2 websites were really helpful when I was looking for. One is called fonda.nl. I'll leave a link in the description again, and the other is called Perarios. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but these 2 websites are the most popular ones that I know of for looking for apartments anywhere in the Netherlands. So from my research, because I did a lot of research before moving here, and I found out that Amsterdam had 2 things that made me not want to live there, right? My company's office is in Amsterdam, but number 1, Amsterdam, depending on the area, not the entire Amsterdam, right? As I'm speaking to you right now, I've even not been to Amsterdam, so I'll explain more in a bit. But from my research, I heard that Amsterdam is a bit more touristy and very expensive to live in. So I decided to stay somewhere around Amsterdam. So there are a couple of cities. So Netherlands is not as big as I thought. It's not as big as Nigeria, that moving from one place to another is going to take you hours, right? And they also have a good transportation system here, which is really great for moving around. So where I stay currently, I stay in Haarlem. Haarlem is about 20 to 30 minutes from Amsterdam. So, and if I decide that I want to go to the office, I can use a bus, or I can use a train, or I can use an Uber. They also have Uber here, so those are really accessible options for me. And this place is more cheaper, to be honest. The apartment that I got here in Amsterdam is going to cost, I think, ×2 of what it cost here. So this was a better option for me. Anyway, for looking for a house, you would first want to think about where your company is located and the area, if it's too expensive, if it's okay for you to actually stay there, or just compare and contrast between different areas and the prices. You can do that on the website, because for each location, Haarlem, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Utrecht, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but all these areas have listings on those websites that I mentioned. So what I did is I just checked those websites, and I found a couple of houses, and I also had a budget. And unfortunately I was not able to find the house for my budget, so I had to move my budget up a bit. I was looking for houses around 900 to 1,000 euros per month, but I couldn't find one. So the one that I'm currently staying in is about 1,400 euros per month, which is quite okay, honestly, for the place that it's located and the size of the house. But yeah, you would want to actually do a couple of research on this. A friend of mine that also moved here a month before I did mentioned that he also used the same website that I'm talking about to find his house. So I think it's a very popular website. So if you're thinking of moving here and looking for a house, you should check them out. I'll leave links to those in the description box if you are interested. So right now it's been, today is Sunday and I got here on Thursday, so it's been 4 days in Haarlem, or in the Netherlands. And what do I have to say about it? I'll say it's the best thing that has ever happened to me, really, because coming from the insanity that was in Lagos to this place at that specific time, like when I was even leaving the airport, I was telling myself that I can't believe I'm leaving. Like, this isn't what, if you had told me in January that I was going to be leaving the country, I would say you're joking, because it was never in my plan. It was around me that I actually started thinking about it, like I mentioned earlier. I just want to say that I'm really thankful and I'm really grateful for the opportunity that my company, Passionate People, gave to me, and I don't take it for granted, really. And so far I haven't really explored as much, but I am loving my city, Haarlem, and I can't wait to even explore more and find more things to do. Anyway, that was the entire process of how I relocated down to the Netherlands. If you have any specific questions that you want to ask me, you can leave those questions in the comment section and I would reply them to the best of my knowledge. I am still trying to settle in, because right now I haven't done a lot of things that I'm supposed to do. Like I mentioned, I have appointments coming up this week, so when I'm done with all of that, hopefully by the end of next week, I should be fully settled in and ready to explore and live my best life in this new location that I find myself in. So that's it. That's how I relocated to the Netherlands. Like I said earlier, if you have questions or comments or anything, just leave it in the comment section and I'll reply to those as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, because I'll be putting out more content now that I'm here, I think. So, and also if you have content ideas for me, just leave them in the comment section as well. I'll definitely reply to that. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on content that I'll be posting in the future. Thank you so much. See you in my next video. Bye.